Hey, what's up, guys? Sam here. And I'll be doing the premium video for Friday, December 6th, 2024. So I have to get this one out of the chute a bit earlier, so we got a lot of time left, a lot of daylight left in this market. Still have about half the day, more than half the day. But I don't know how much will change. At the end of the video, we're going to cover one major thing that I think all of you need to be aware of, which we talked about in the central session. It's just one level on SPY that I'm going to cover, but we're going to cover everything kind of normally to start with, and then we'll go from there. So let's start here where we always start, which is the SPY or the SPX. And we ask ourselves, well, has anything changed? Does it still look good? And max bull and max bull. So no changes whatsoever here on the SPY. Continues to be a very strong trending market. And I don't really see any issues here. Of course, you are, kind of a long way away from the 21. You're a long way away from the 8 as well, frankly. So we'll see if anything happens there. But at least as it sits here, SPY looks pretty darn aligned for more. So I don't see any issues there. And this might be kind of a boring conversation on the indexes because they're just in melt-up mode. So there's not really a lot there to have to overly analyze. So the Qs are next. And the Qs, same thing, max bull on both ends. Nothing that I see here to change. On your weekly bars, you still do not have any bars against the grain here, which would create some level of friction, right? You can see that the histogram here is still on an uptick. And before, when you've had pullbacks of any significance, it's always started with a darker blue bar against the grain. You can see those previous times. We do not have that yet. And everything here looks quite good. You are getting into a target here that I had, so we'll see if that matters at all. But frankly, when you have a melt-up market, you can kind of throw levels out the window to some degree. At least like minor levels, and things can just kind of persist and melt up. And that's certainly what's going on here with the Qs, but again, not overly anything interesting here. Everything looks great. You're not near support. No squeezes that I see that are significant. Let's go to the IWM next. So again, we do this just to see if there's any anything we might be missing here as we go into next week. So let's go to IWM next. With IWM, I don't see any issues as well. This is just the way it trades. It tends to have very spiky moves, and then it kind of flags into support, and then it has another spiky move to the upside. Not really a lot there to cover or look at or change. Let's go to DIA. So DIA, same thing. Very exciting stuff here. Very strong, melt up, not near support, no squeezes of, actually no, excuse me, there actually is a squeeze here. There's a 4-hour squeeze on the DIA. It doesn't look totally complete, so maybe just more consolidation here. So really from what I'm seeing, just kind of putting the pieces together here for the first 4 indexes that we've looked at, the SPY, Qs, IWM, and DIA. If you recall, I've been showing you the Mag 7 index, and that had a max bull daily, 2-day, and 3-day chart. And it had a 2-day and 3-day squeeze. So in that vein, I think that Mag 7 stocks are probably the place to be until proven otherwise, right? Because they have the 2-day and the 3-day squeezes, where I don't see that on any other index, right? So, and here's the thing, if that is the case, and the Mag 7s are the place to be, then that takes the Qs and the S&P higher. Right now with a little bit more focus on the Qs. So all roads continue to lead me back to the mags, at least for now in this slice of time. I'm not seeing enough rotation to justify getting away from the mags. So I would continue to focus there and on the other tech names. Let's take a look at the dollar real quick. Probably won't be a lot to see here. Not really. Not much to see there. Let's take a look at the interest rates. We'll do it through ZT. Nice move in ZT today. Doesn't seem like a lot, but It's a decent little move here. And this again is something that's much more helpful to things like tech and home builders than it is to things that like industrials and materials. Energy certainly doesn't benefit from this. So as we go through, hopefully you can start to see how the pieces fall into place. Everything looks really, really great. I think that's goes without saying. But then we ask ourselves, okay, well, if everything looks great, where is the money more likely to flow? Well, we talked about the Mag 7 index and how that's perfect all the way to a 3-day chart with squeezes. And then we look at the interest rates potentially making a low here. It's still early in the game to call it a low, but it's got the makings of it. A little bit of an island reversal here where you traded below the 200 in the VWAP, you gap up above it, and now you've just been kind of steady grinding to the upside. So that bodes generally well for the predominant way of thinking, which is the mags are the leadership group. So then let's go check out the VIX here at a massive level of 13. And I don't see any signs of life in the VIX at all. So that's fine. Alright, let's round out by closing with HYG and see what that looks like. And HYG here starting to shape up. So this went through a little bit of a rocky phase. Even when it was during going through a rocky phase, HYG, which is a very good risk-on sentiment tool, the market really didn't seem to care. So it doesn't seem like the market cared all that much when this was in danger of breaking to the downside. And now that it's kind of much more, I don't want to say strong bull because it's not. It's a mid bull, but it's improved quite a bit. As this continues to improve, I think this will certainly help bullish sentiment across the board. So this bodes well for the bulls. So I have yet to see anything here that does not bode well for the bulls. It's almost an embarrassment of riches. And then you combine that with the seasonality, and that's kind of a unchartable yet known addition to what the bulls already have. So all of this looks fantastic. So I don't see any issues there. Now I do stick around to the end because we're going to cover a major level on SPY, which I think is important that you should know. Real quick, just a couple stocks that came up today in the scans. I'll just verbally call them out. MasterCard, Disney, PanW, Coinbase, DoorDash, and Affirm. Those all came up. I asked you guys to see if you had any questions about any other topics, and I was asked to cover 2 topics. One of them was gold and silver, as well as how to hedge. So we're going to cover these 2 things, and then we're going to talk about the major level that I think you need to know on SPY. So here on gold and silver, what do we see? Frankly, I don't see much of anything. It's still bullish based on this, but the daily chart's gone neutral. And when you have a neutral reading, it's not really even worth discussing all that much, right? You want to see some improvement on that, which I don't yet see. I'd like to see maybe a 2150 crossover, so basically I'd like to see the cloud go green again. The one thing that I can say is the cloud went red here, and price has been very, very sticky. And when that is the case, that can be a very good sign of something to come. But you also don't want to start finding little details like that in a neutral chart, right? In most cases, like if you look at any of the names that we mentioned, or that I mentioned, MasterCard, Disney, PanW, Coin, Dash, Affirm, the setup, you pull it up, it just pops. You don't have to say, well, the cloud here crossed, but the price didn't really fall, and that implies that they could very easily cross back to the upside, which it does. That complicates matters. So gold here, just the short answer to gold is it's in a holding phase, and I don't see anything to do. You can also see the ATRs are completely flat across price. So not really much to do there. We'll come back to it next week. I'll leave it on the list and we'll cover it again next week to see if anything has changed, but at least right now I don't see anything there to cover. The last question that I got was how to hedge, and there's no right or wrong answer here to how to hedge, so I'm just going to speak in terms of how to hedge for a longer term portfolio of multiple stocks. And my preferred method of hedging is going to be with Delta 30 puts on the index. So you could certainly do it in SPX, and I'll just speak to SPX. So Delta 30 puts usually 60 days out, 60 to 90 days out, I think is a good hedge. So whatever strike price the Delta 30 SPX put would be, if you're looking to hedge a book, I think that's a valid way of doing it. If you're ever looking to flatten a book, let's say that you have like 20 different stocks that you're carrying long-term positions in, and you have like a really good signal that the market might be in for a pullback, the way that I prefer to hedge that is actually just through futures. So you'd have to see how much movement your portfolio as a whole is exposed to in SPX per point, and then you would or ES, and then you would have to hedge it out through the futures that way. So I think for most people listening, I think maybe the Delta 30 60 to 90 days output for as a hedge on the index is probably the easiest way to do it. But if you're a little bit more advanced and you have a very good signal, you can actually flatten an entire book of stocks without getting out of any of the stocks themselves by just shorting a comparable amount of futures contracts against it. So that's that conversation, and then let's close with this. I want to show you a level here, and I showed this in the main room already, but I'll show you again here on the Friday video. This is a monthly chart of SPY, and let's kind of zoom in here for the last couple of years. So there's a level up here on SPY, 609.83, and I want to show you how I got that level. You take the COVID low, very important major high volume low, against the COVID post-COVID highs, against the interest rate fear pullback lows, right? So you connect these 3 points, do it on a monthly chart, and that gives you symmetry, and symmetry takes you all the way to 609.83. So it's a level that I think you should be very aware of, right? I mean, I think if you're looking at markets as kind of structures, which is all we do with charts, this move, the implication is the move terminates at 609.83. Now, can it keep going? We happen to be in a very unique time where things can keep going, but just part of my job would be to tell you that this level exists and to show you why it's important. So again, just be aware 609.83 on SPY is a major symmetrical target, and a point, at least for myself, of pretty strong caution. It doesn't mean it's a short. I have absolutely no sell signals. We did the entire first part of the video. We looked at everything, and everything looks great. But again, just the risk to reward shifts when you're this close to that major symmetry target. And I think the way around that is just to be a little bit more aware of it and to be willing to be a little bit faster. I think that longer term trades here might be a bit more difficult because the risk to reward here is just a little bit thin. So that's the adjustment that I'm going to make based on that level. Alright guys, well I'll go ahead and wrap the video there. I'd love to hear from you if you have any kind of thoughts on this symmetry target that I just gave you. Hopefully you can see the thought process behind it. I'd love to hear some thoughts if you have any, so shoot me an email. And let me see if I have any upper targets here that are not met. And I mean, I suppose if we get above 610 there, which would clear the level, there's another set of targets at 625 to 632. So we'll have that conversation when we need to have it. But for now, 609.83 is your monthly symmetry and a point of caution. So treat it as such. All right, guys, that's my time. Have a great Friday, great weekend. Get outside, look at a sunset, look at a sunrise, play with a dog, play with a cat, play with a fish, play with a squirrel. Tell someone you love them this weekend, even if it's just yourself. And I'll catch you guys in session on Monday. Cheers.